Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunamilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Anupetya Apetya Krityam Rapaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putrete Tan Maitaya Tadavo Binedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshai Kiptashta Kamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Brinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvayavina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we're going to continue hearing the beautiful Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat by first offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padmanitya Bhavishta Om Vishnu Padasta Tatsat Sri Srimad Abhaya Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, and Sri Guru Pada Padmanitya Bhavishta Om Vishnu Padasta Tatsat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, unto our exalted Rupana Guru Varga, all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Okay, so when we left off with the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Nityananda Prabhu and Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur were observing Jagai and Madhai. And we heard descriptions of these two persons, horrifying description actually, of their sinful nature. Although they had been born in a spotless Brahminical lineage, they had abandoned all that, and by bad association had taken up every sin imaginable. And they were listed. We heard that in the purport. Saraswati Prabhupada gave us a breakdown of some of these sins. And to consider they had done all of those in Nadia at that time, it's just beyond belief. I mean, even by modern standards, it's incomprehensible. Although, interestingly enough, when you read a lot of those, nowadays people, what's sinful of that? That's natural, Anyway, society is degraded tremendously. But so the last thing we heard was that these two qualified persons gave up their religiosity and have been engaged in such sinful activities since birth. Since birth. Wow. I believe in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in a commentary, Srila Prabhupada mentions that in this particular incarnation, this is also Jai and Vijay. Generally, it's not. It's generally not. But in this particular incarnation, it was. It followed, from appearing as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha and Ravan and Kumbhakarna, and then Shishupal and Dantavakra. And because Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, Jai and Vijay came in this form. So, considering that they were most sinful, their relatives rejected them. Now they freely wander about with other drunkards. This is their association. Their relatives must have been so disappointed. Can you imagine a very Pukka Brahminical family in Navadvip lineage, so proud, and then to have these two as sons? Oh my God. Nowadays, everything's reversed. Srila Gurudev mentions how if you have a family, if your daughters go running around with other men, if your sons are drunkards, if they do all these bad things, no harm. But if they become devotees, oh, what a disaster. Oh, how shameful. My sons have become crazy Hare Krishnas. My daughters, they're running around, chanting in the streets, wearing sheets. Anyway, everything's upside down in Kali Yuga. So, Ehi duideki saba nadia doraya pache karokon nadina vasati podaya. When the residents of Nadia see these two, they fear that the two may someday burn down their house. Hena papanahi jahana kore duijana dakachuri madhyamangsa kore bojana. There is no sin that these two have not committed. They plunder, steal, drink wine, and eat meat. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur comments, there is no end to Jagai and Madhai's sinful activities. Since reckless activities like plunder, violence, cruelty, and intoxication were prominently seen in them, they were qualified to commit all kinds of sinful activities. Some people said, since the soul is separate from its perverted form, it's not responsible for the activities committed by that perverted form, even when the opposite of morality and purified activities, such as eating proper foods, is found. End quote. This is the misconception. Sarasvati Prabhupada says, actually, only living entities who have forgotten their constitutional position enjoy the result of such misconceptions and the inauspiciousness born of excessive attachment. So people try to say, well, the soul is separate from the body. This is just the activities in one birth. Sometimes you're a tiger, sometimes you're a dog, sometimes you're a human. But you're not responsible for these things. You're the soul. You're not this body. So just a concoction. The soul is very much tied to these activities and does enjoy and suffer the results of these activities. This is clear from all Vedic history. Shuni Nityananda Bada Karuna Hridai Duvi Jara Udara Chinte Hohiya Sadai. After hearing this, the kind-hearted Nityananda mercifully contemplated how to deliver these two. So here we get some more about Lord Nityananda. He's spoken of as the avatar of compassion, the form that Mahaprabhu expands into to deliver fallen souls, the original principle of Guru. He's kind and compassionate. And even when seeing these two, he's contemplating how to save them. And we also should remember that up until this time, they had done so much sin, but one thing they had not done was Vaishnava aparad. Why? Because they didn't associate with Vaishnavas. They only associated with drunkards and people of their own lot. And so somehow, up till this point, they had been spared from that. So Nityananda Prabhu is contemplating, mercifully, how to deliver the two. Pataki tarite Prabhu kohila avatar emat patakikota pahibena ara. The Lord has incarnated to deliver the sinful. Where will he find such sinners as these? So now Nityananda is saying, oh, my Lord, Mahaprabhu, look what he's done. Why has he come? And so Sarasvati Prabhupada explains that the word pataka refers to patayati adogamayati dushkriyat karinamiti. Oh, wait a minute. We read this, but it's been so long since we read this, I thought we'd read this. This is where all the sins are elaborately described again. Oh my God. Let's see. No, maybe we didn't. It's just repeating a lot of it. Okay, anyway, we can hear it again. Sin, Okay, so it refers to patayati adagomayati dushkriya karinamiti. Sinful activities, activities that result in degradation, and improper activities. The householders have three main enemies. So do brahmacharis, so do sannyasis. Everybody has these enemies nowadays. Lust, anger, and greed. All right, make note of that. These are your enemies. Lust, anger, and greed. Being attacked by these enemies, human beings engage in sinful activities. Sinful activities are called, oh yeah, we read this. Atipataka, Mahapataka, Anupataka, Upapataka, Jati Brahmshakara, Shankari Karana, Apatti Karana, Malavaha, and Prakrinaka. Oh my God. Should I read these again? Oh boy. It was so frightening reading these before, but I already have this. I'll just read a little bit of them. So here's having sex with one's mother, having sex with one's daughter, and having sex with the wife of one's son. These three sins are called atipataka. Killing a brahmana, drinking wine, stealing a brahmana's gold, and having sex with the wife of one's guru. To commit these four sins, or to intimately associate with such sinners, is called mahapataka. There are 35 forms of anupataka. 1. For a low caste person to identify himself as belonging to a higher caste. All right, don't misrepresent yourself. In Kali Yuga, this is very prominent. All right, Kali. When Kali first appeared, how did he represent himself? As a king, as a kshatriya, and he was beating a cow. And Maharaj Parikshit became very angry at him and was prepared to kill him. You pose as a king, and yet you are beating a cow whom you are sworn to protect. And in the 12th canto, the kings of Kali Yuga are actually from the Shudra class. And the so-called Brahmanas have the qualities also of Shudras. So everything is destroyed. To falsely accuse someone of committing an offense for which the punishment is death. Okay, so, don't set somebody up wrongly, right? This happens all the time now. To spread false accusations against respectable persons. These three are equal to the killing of a Brahmana. Right, so nowadays, that's the business of the media, to simply accuse people of this and that, friends and enemies. Say whatever you want about people. Destroy them, no problem. But this is very serious. This was a culture that rested on truth. Dharma has 4 limbs, right? It has satyam, truth. It has ahimsa, nonviolence. It has shocham, cleanliness. And it has tapasya, discipline and austerity. But it all rests upon truth. And in the Kali Yuga, the last remnant of Dharma is there where truth exists. The others are gone. There's no cleanliness. There's no tapasya and discipline in a real way. There's no nonviolence and respect for other living entities because they eat whatever they want. They kill whomever they want. Only a fragment of truth exists where religiosity still prevails. Right? So, false testimony, deceptive words. To reject the Vedas or forget the Vedas after reading them. To blaspheme the Vedas. To give false testimony by speaking deceptive words. In other words, to hide something you know about. Or to hide truth by speaking lies. So if you know a truth, you can't be quiet, can't be silent. Before he disappeared from our vision, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur said that many people are upset with me because I spoke the truth, and they feel that I committed violence against them. But actually, I spoke the truth to protect and save them. So, to spoil the life of a friend, to eat food that grows in stool or filthy places, to eat unedible foods, right? Now, these things, these are all anupatikas. And then there's the next section, to take another's accumulated wealth through cheating. Oh, God. This is some of the most respectable businesses in America are based on that, right? Stockbrokers, bankers, this is what they do, right? Investors, insurance, it's all to steal another's wealth by cheating. To kidnap someone, there's so many ways to kidnap them. Kidnap them and make them go to schools that teach irreligion and violence, right? So many ways, to force people into this or to that, right, by law. To steal a horse, I guess to steal a car would be the same, right? To steal silver, to steal land, to steal diamonds, to steal jewels. Yeah. Oh, and then there's another group. Oh, God, this is the one. Having sex with a sister born from the same mother. Oh. Having sex with an unmarried girl. Having sex with a low-caste woman. Having sex with the wife of one's friend. Having sex with the wife of a stepson. Having sex with one's son's wife, who belongs to a different caste than the son. All these subdivisions, so common nowadays. Having sex with one's maternal aunt, in other words, your wife's sister. Your mother's sister, your maternal aunt. Having sex with one's paternal aunt. Don't have sex with your father's sister, all right? Having sex with one's mother-in-law. Having sex with the wife of one's maternal uncle. Having sex with the wife of a priest. Having sex with one's sister. Having sex with the acharya's wife. Having sex with a woman who is under one's shelter. Having sex with the queen. Having sex with a woman who's given up household life. Having sex with the wife of a learned brahmana. Having sex with a chaste woman. Having sex with a woman of a higher caste. Oh, God. These are 19 forms of that one, having sex with the wife of spiritual masters. So in other words, don't have sex with anyone except your own wife, Other than that, it's just, Then, another kind of group of sins, killing cows, becoming the priest of unqualified people, having sex with another's wife, here we go again, selling oneself. I guess there are many ways to sell oneself, right? As a slave. Giving up one's father, mother, or guru. Should always maintain your duty to them. Giving up the study of scriptures. Giving up cooking due to laziness. In other words, just go to restaurants or whatever, don't give up cooking because, that's your duty. Cook, offer to the Lord. Giving up one's son, or to neglect the performance of the son's purificatory rites. Arranging the marriage of a younger son before that of the elder. Arranging the marriage of a younger daughter before that of the elder. These are all rules of varnashram culture, right? The raising and the protecting of children. Because as Bhaktivinoda Thakur illuminates in Chaitanya Shikshamrita, there are certain duties of householders. And one of them that he stresses is having children and then educating them properly, right? And that means bringing them up spiritually during the proper purificatory ceremonies, arranging for their education, for their livelihood, and their duties afterwards, right? And getting them married appropriately, at the appropriate time, to the appropriate people, right? Arranging the marriage of a younger daughter before that of the elder, acting as the priest in such a marriage, don't get involved, right? Spoiling a girl who has not reached puberty, that would be pedophilia, right? Okay. Earning one's livelihood by loaning money on interest, that's everywhere. Falling from the vow of brahmacharya by engaging in illicit activities, okay, such as having sex with a woman. Okay, don't do that. Selling one's pond, garden, wife, or children. If you're a householder, you have the responsibility to maintain your family's property and wealth, because it's only yours for a certain time. It's to be passed down to your sons, and then their sons, and their sons, the daughters, they enter into other families. See, that was one of the things that Ajamil did, and Bilva Mangal. They sold their family wealth and ran off with prostitutes, right? So, that's what Harish Chandra had to do as well. You know, Harish Chandra, that story in the Puranas, he was put into that condition by what sage? I can't remember the name of the sage, to teach him a lesson. But he ultimately, from being a king, he had to sell himself and his wife and his son into slavery, right? Completely abominable. Right? So let's see. Teaching the Vedas on payment, right? Don't make a living out of that. That's also mentioned in Jaiva Dharma. Let's see. Neglecting to undergo the sacred Thed ceremony, even up to the age of 16. Rejecting relatives, such as one's uncle. Learning the Vedas from a professional teacher, not a practicing soul, but one like going to university and learning the Vedas from these so-called professors who have no real knowledge. It's interesting. I have one godbrother, his name's Satyaraj, and for most of his adult life, he has engaged in study and writing of books, and he doesn't have any degrees or formal education, but he has written many books that the scholarly community accepts, and he's friends with many professors. And in order to include them and to, I guess, associate and preach with them, he's created a scholarly journal called the Vaishnav something journal. And he engages these different scholars to write articles, because a lot of scholars that's their field, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, or this sampradaya or that sampradaya. But the majority of them are not practitioners. There are a few devotee scholars that write articles, but most of them are just people that have studied it. And I've read some of those journals and read these scholarly articles, and it's so strange, it's so dry, and so distant from the spirit and the revelation that genuine Gaudiya Vaishnavas write of, right? It's just dry and speculative, and it's not tasteful at all, right? So, professional teachers. Selling objects that are not meant to be sold. I guess that's certain family heirlooms and things, right? You don't sell your deities, obviously, right? Working in a gold mine or another kind of mine on the order of the king. Working on a bridge or other huge enterprise. Oh yeah, I remember reading this being confused. Destroying medicine. Okay, that's clear. Earning the whole pharmaceutical industry is based on that. It was originally established drawing inspiration from herbal cures and synthesizing herbal things, like aspirin. Aspirin comes from willow bark originally, right? And they took their cue from many natural medicines, but then ultimately they rejected the natural medicines, which can be acquired cheaply by anyone, and did all their own synthetic, and then branched off completely into a different form of medicine also, which is effectively destroying the culture of naturopathic medicine. Great sin. earning one's livelihood by engaging one's wife in prostitution, harming an innocent person through mantra, or the employment of creatures such as eagles. How would you employ eagles? To hunt, right? Go catch that rabbit, and then we'll sell it or eat it. Go catch that goat or wolf, just any rate. Cutting green trees for fuel. The forests are meant to be overseen, not much differently than crops, right? Green trees should be allowed to grow and mature and do their role. Cooking or performing sacrifice for oneself rather than the Lord or one's father, right? That's pretty clear. Eating prohibited foods like garlic. Yeah, garlic it has some medicinal value, apparently. Can be taken in Ayurveda in restricted amounts. But as a daily food, it's been shown to be harmful. Anything in excess, it slows your reflexes, slows and diminishes brain activity, and it's very disgusting. If you eat it, your breath and everything is so unclean. And it also excites the life airs and makes you disturbed and lusty, right? So, neglecting to preserve a perpetual sacred fire. This is Brahmanas, they have to do that, right? Keep the fire going. Stealing valuables other than gold, not just gold, but other valuables as well. Neglecting the repayment of debts to the demigods, sages, and forefathers. Do your sacrifices, right, appropriately. This is Varnashram. Discussing unauthorized scriptures. Mahaprabhu recommended that also. Don't bother studying so many other scriptures. Focus on the essential Vaishnava literature. Don't try to become learned in so many other things. Right? And especially unauthorized scriptures, which promote unauthorized conceptions of the absolute and unauthorized practices and goals. Right? So we're not supposed to read like Shankaracharya's commentary, for instance. I remember one time Gurudev asked one of his disciples, who was a very learned scholar, who had studied Shankaracharya. I think he'd been given permission. Jiva Goswami studied it. Some of our persons study it in order to refute it. And he had him discuss it and present the conceptions. And he presented them in such a way, it was so rational and clear, I thought, oh my God, you could easily become bewildered by reading this, It's so, I was just sitting there astonished. Oh, wow. That sounds so rational, so logical, right? Any rate, that's what happens when you associate with these things. Becoming attached to songs and music. That means mundane song, mundane music, right? Stealing paddy, which means, rice, right? Stealing metals like copper and iron, or animals. Having sex with a drunk woman. Oh my God, that is the modern culture. Go to the bars, get drunk. Pick up men, pick up women, they're all drunk, right? Killing a woman, okay? Killing a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or a Shudra. Don't kill anybody. Becoming an atheist. These are the upapatikas, the big ones, right? Okay, then here's a few more. Using a stick or other instrument to injure a brahmana. Smelling objects like garlic, stool, or wine. Why you would want to smell them is beyond me. But some people love the smell. When your senses become degraded, you go, oh, this garlic. Oh, they're cooking with garlic. Oh, it smells so good. If you don't eat it, it makes you gag. If you do eat it, though, oh, that's so nice. And stool, well, you become like that. What happens next? You become a hog. I remember Srila Prabhupada speaking one time and talking about that, how when you do these degraded activities in your next life, you're given a body suitable for enjoying these things. And hogs, they love to eat stool, fresh stool. And in India, you see, in many places, there are no public restrooms, and people just go over to the gutter and squat over it and poop directly into the open gutter. And they carry sticks with them in their hand because the hogs are waiting very eagerly. And the little children are vulnerable. Sometimes the hogs will just butt them out of the way to get at their stool. So it's a little scary for little kids to pass stool in the gutter. They have their stick and the hogs are, getting ready to go. A fresh meal. And Srila Prabhupada said, if you offer the hog first-class halava, he will say, no, sir, give me stool. I want stool. Ugh. Anyway, that's what happens. And wine, similarly. Becoming crooked, having sex with an animal. Ooh, that happens. People pay for that. And engaging in homosexual relations. All these sins are jati brahmkshakara. God dang. So, something or other, our society is so degraded now that all of these things are going on. And for the most part, sometimes there's still a little condemnation for some of it. But there's always some place where this is going on. Sometimes it may be hidden, but it's going on. People have a taste, and even powerful people, so-called respectable persons, are engaging in these things. So there's a few more. Accepting wealth from a condemned person, earning one's livelihood through trade or lending money on interest, right? Speaking lies, and serving a Shudra. Right? See, these have to be understood within the context of Varnashram. And also, like as devotees, sometimes you can do things in the service of the Lord and be freed from sin. This is the principle of sarvadharmam parityajyamam ekam sharanam vraja. When Arjuna is being told to fight in this battle, which is going to involve many activities that are opposed to strict dharma in that battle, Krishna says, this is my will. I'm showing you that my will is completely outside of the considerations of dharma. And Nityananda Prabhu, wanting to save these two persons, we've already heard so many statements here that you shouldn't be involved with this kind of person in any way. Shouldn't even go near them. Let their shadow touch you. What to speak of engage and interact with them. They are completely condemned and outside, but he's going to engage them anyway. Right? So, the last few, killing a bird, killing animals that move in water, killing fish or other animals that are born in water, killing worms or insects, eating foods that have been touched by wine. All these sins are called malavaha. Right? Even worms and insects for the householders, in strict Veda culture, there are these 5 fires in the house that kill insects, animals, bacteria, things you don't even see. And so they have these rituals to purify themselves from performing ordinary household duties. Sweeping, you can kill animals, pushing spider webs outside, sweeping insects, ants out of the way. You can't live in this world without killing others. Right? You can't. So in Varnashram, you're told very carefully, don't do this, don't do that. And for those things that happen unavoidably, there are ritualistic cleansing activities. So in the Kali Yuga, where all these things are commonplace, there's no way, no other way to become purified than that chanting of the holy name. But, nam no balad yasya hi papa bud here, no way do you casually continue to commit sinful activity with the idea that, oh, it doesn't matter, I'll just chant the holy name and I'll be purified. That is a great aparad, a great offense. We read these and we go, oh my goodness, this is, how many of these did you hear thinking, God, I do that, I've done that, I'm probably going to do that. There's so much of this. Frightening, whether intentionally or unintentionally, right? So some sinful activities have not been described, right? And then he gives a summary from the Mahabharata. 10 kinds of sinful activities have been mentioned. 3 sins of killing, stealing, and having sex with another's wife. These are called sins of the body. Killing, stealing, inappropriate sex, right? Sins of the body. Then sins of speech. Useless talk, arrogance, boasting, right? Cruelty, insulting, and telling lies. This is much more condensed. We could concentrate on these, right? Useless talk, prajalpa, right? Arrogance, such a guy I am. Do you know who I am? Do you know what is my position? You should bow down to me. Right? Cruelty, cruelty, telling lies, vachika, that's speech. And then 3 sins of the mind, which are, these are called manasika, like coveting another's wealth. In other words, being envious. Oh, look at that guy, he's got so much money. I want some. Why doesn't he give me some? And thinking bad thoughts about them, right? Being devoid of compassion for other living entities. That's very common nowadays. And thinking, let my activities bear fruit. That means hankering all the time for material prosperity. Wow. So, this is Nityananda contemplating the sinful nature of these two. We read this verse the other day. It's just that when I opened it, I thought it was going to go immediately to where we had already read. For some reason, it backtracked. Anyway, we read it again. No harm, right? Frightening. But again, it goes to show the munificence and the compassion, right? The great audarya of Nityananda Prabhu. And then he says, Lukaiya kare Prabhu apana prakash prabhavana deke loke kare upahas. The Lord secretly manifests himself. People who do not see his influence make fun of him. We've read these, so I'm not going to necessarily read all the purports. I'm going to bring us up to where we were. Now we remember where we were. He goes on to say, if the Lord bestows his mercy on these two, then the whole world will know his glories. If I can reveal Lord Chaitanya to them, then I, Nityananda, will be known as Lord Chaitanya's servant. Right? This was his only goal. Nityananda Prabhu is the Supreme Lord himself. He is the manifestation of the Lord's compassion, teaching, mercy. But he says, I am a servant of Lord Chaitanya, a servant of Lord Chaitanya, servant of Lord Chaitanya. He simply wants to fulfill that desire of the Lord to uplift and save these most fallen of people. Complete opposite of those who have no compassion. The Kali Yuga is characterized by no compassion. Look at the way that governments work. Look at the way that financial institutions work. So-called insurance companies, so-called healthcare providers. Everybody is there to exploit, manipulate, and ruin others. This is modern society. But Nityananda, he wants to save the most wicked and fallen. Now they are fully intoxicated, and they do not know themselves. If only they could become intoxicated like this, under the influence of Krishna's names. If these two cry, as they say, "Oh, my Lord," then my wandering will be successful. If persons who previously took bath in the Ganga with their clothes on, when they touched the shadow of these two, consider themselves as purified as by taking bath in the Ganga by seeing them, then my name will be remembered. If I can transform these from the most abominable, hideous persons, rejected, reviled by society, and make them objects of reverence and worship because they've become great devotees, then my purpose, my name, Nityananda, will be realized and successful. Okay, and then Vrindavan Das Thakur says, Sri Nityananda Prabhu Mahima Apara Patitera Trana Lagi Janra Avatar. The glories of Sri Nityananda Prabhu are unlimited. He has incarnated to deliver the fallen souls. He is Swayam Prakash, the direct manifestation, the first expansion of Mahaprabhu himself, right? And he's incarnated to deliver the fallen souls. This is Saraswati Prabhupada says. And this is where we left off last time. After contemplating in this way, the Lord said to Haridas, "O Haridas, look at their miserable condition." Right? Okay, so repeated that. We'll start here tomorrow. Right? But it's nice. We refreshed ourselves, understanding the frightening condition of Jagai and Madhai. Nothing that they had not done. And as we mentioned, I remember saying this, that Chitragupta, the scribe, the accountant sort of Yamaraj, saying that, there's not enough people to write down all the sins that they've committed. It's like unparalleled in history. All right. So, offering obeisance to our merciful guardians, the representatives, the descendants of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, our beloved Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, all of our Guru Varga, and the Sambhu Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Gaur Premanande, Hari